Hello. Hi, I'm Derek Brook. I'm the chair of the Barrow Borough Council Executive Committee, and we're just going to start our meeting shortly. Welcome to all those of you watching on YouTube. We've been having one or two technical difficulties, so hopefully they won't interrupt our meeting or your great enjoyment in watching our meeting. I'll hand over to John Hook to explain a few technical stuff and legal stuff first, and then we'll start the meeting. John?
Thank you, Chair. May I first all of you remind of the domestic arrangements. It is important that all participants conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. Please put your mobile phones on silent. If any member or officer wishes to speak, please raise your hand via the raise hand facility in Zoom. If you are not speaking, please mute your microphone until invited to speak. Even if you are not speaking, you may still be shown on screen, so please remember this whilst the meeting is being conducted. Please do not interrupt other speakers. If members do lose connection to the meeting, we will adjourn for up to 10 minutes to assist them in reconnecting. I would remind you that this meeting is being streamed live on the Council's YouTube channel so that members of the public and press can view the meeting, except where there are confidential or exempt items. To vote on the matters, I will ask myself as Democratic Services Manager to manage this process. At this point, members will be requested to unmute your microphones. After a brief pause, a mover and seconder will be requested and a roll call of members will be undertaken. Please reply with "I vote for," "against," "abstain," then remute your microphone. That's all the formalities, members. So can we now proceed to the business? And the first item is agenda item 1.
Have we any apologies or attendance of substitute members?
I'll do a roll call if that's okay, Chair.
Yeah.
So please, can you say present? So members, councillors: Barlow.
Present.
Biggins.
Present.
Blizzard.
Present.
Brook.
Present.
Edwards.
Present.
Hamilton.
Present.
McClure.
Present.
Maddox.
Present.
Morgan.
Present.
Pemberton.
Present.
Roberts.
Present.
Ronson.
Present.
And officers: Sam Plum.
Present.
Sue Roberts.
Present.
Steph Corden.
Present.
Debbie Storr.
Present.
Sandra Kemsley.
Present.
Caroline Wagstaff.
Present.
Rebecca Halton.
Present.
Les Davis.
Present.
David Joyce.
Present.
Thank you very much.
Right, thank you. Item 2, have we got any urgent items? Don't think we have we?
No, Chair.
Delegations, we haven't got any delegations either.
It's whether
No.
members want to move anything non-delegated and move it to delegated. So it's up to the committee.
All right, sorry, yeah. No.
No?
Right, admissions of public and press. We do have a part 2 item, and we may have to go into part 2 for a part of housing, depending on which part of it, if we want to discuss some particular items, I believe.
Yeah, Chair, there were 2 part 2 items. The low carbon Barrow zero carbon item has been moved into part 1. The second remains in part 2. So do you agree that we continue with that item in part 2? I take
All
it.
agreed.
And
Sorry?
Chair, if I just may come in to confirm that one of the Housing Management Forum items was a confidential item as well. So if there's to be any discussion on that item, then that again would need to move into part 2 for that element of it.
Right. have we, no, item 5, have we got any declarations of interest? No, if you need to raise it later on in the meeting, you can do so. Right, item 6, confirmation of the minutes held on the 27th of July.
Yes,
They
Chair.
agreed? Sorry?
Yeah, so whether they agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 27th of July be signed as a correct record, and those minutes will be signed at the next practical opportunity.
You'll have a big pile of unsigned minutes at the moment then, will you, John?
I will.
Well, let's hope the town hall doesn't get raided then before I can get in and sign them all. Right, okay. We all agree the minutes, yeah?
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed.
Public participation, we haven't got any, have we?
No, Chair.
Oof, right, we're on to item 8, Housing Management Forum recommendations. And I can't see who's here, so somebody's going to report on those.
Yes, Chair. So Caroline Wagstaff, Assistant Operations Manager, will answer any questions relating to the Housing Management Forum, as well as Les Davies and Rebecca Holton.
Thank you, John. The first report is the Adelphi Court further extension of lease. The initial lease was granted on the 4th of March 2015 for a period of 5 years with Richmond Fellowship. Richmond Fellowship are responsible for the management of Adelphi Court, which has supported housing for clients with mental health. Richmond Fellowship wish to continue the lease to manage the supported housing. The project has been extremely successful in enabling 11 residents to be accommodated independently within their own flats and supported to help them sustain the tenancies. What we're requesting is that members agree to renew the lease for Adelphi Court with Richmond Fellowship to May 30th, 2020 on the same terms and rent, and give delegated authority to the Assistant Director of Housing to determine the rent and terms to renew the lease for Adelphi Court with Richmond Fellowship until the 31st of May 2021.
I think those are all, they're supposed to be both the 31st of May, aren't they? I think one of these is a typo.
Yeah.
They're all the
Yeah,
31st.
sorry.
They're all the 31st of May.
Yeah, till next year.
Yeah.
I think
Wendy?
you just need to unmute.
Sorry?
On my papers I've got, it says Housing Management Forum recommendations to follow. I haven't got any. I haven't received any.
Councillor Maddox, who were sent out yesterday.
Oh, well, that could be. My post doesn't come till about 3 o'clock, so.
They were sent out by email.
Oh, right. What, on the iPad?
Yes, they were sent out.
Oh, I
by
haven't
email
looked. I
yesterday.
haven't looked at my iPad. Right. Okay.
Move the 2 recommendations, Chair.
Right. Is that, do we need a second now, or do we just agree them?
Can agree that by consensus.
Can we agree them? Yeah?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Do you want
Thank you.
the next one? Water.
Hi everyone. Yeah, hi everyone. This report is United Utilities Contract Protection of Water. In 2013, the council entered an arrangement with United Utilities to collect water rates on their behalf, and we receive a commission fee for that arrangement. The current contract ends on the 31st of March 2021, following it being agreed at HMF in September 2018 to extend it by a further 2 years. We're recommending that the council agree to the renewal of the contract between the council and United Utilities for a further 5 years, taking us up to 2026. There are a number of benefits, both to tenants and the council, with the arrangement, including us being able to fund a money management post
enabling tenants to reduce the water charges by assisting them to apply for back on track and help to pay schemes. And obviously we also receive the commission fee as well, which helps bolster the HRA. The options are that we cease to collect water charges and we'll have to consider alternative options to protect our income, or we continue with the contract. And officers have been advised that the commission rate we currently receive is no longer viable for United Utilities, so they are suggesting that that's reduced. However, we do still feel that there is a benefit to the HRA of us continuing to collect on their behalf, because the commission fee is a benefit to us even when we've paid the staffing costs and considered arrears on people's accounts for non-payment. So we're asking that we are able to extend that contract for a further 5 years when it comes to an end in 2021.
Any questions, or is that Kevin?
Just before I move the recommendations, Chair, the benefits that our tenants have through paying the water rates through the alongside with the rent or whatever, every tenant gets £10 discount paid off the water rate straight away. 879 tenants have saved over £206,000 by using this, and also benefits is as Bex has just pointed out there, with the money that we get in with the commission actually provides for a financial benefits officer, advice officer. So absolutely brilliant. So I'd like to forward the recommendations, Chair.
Is that agreed?
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Next one, disabled adaptations.
Hi, yeah. There's two requests for disabled adaptations. One's at 28 Ruskin Avenue, and the estimated value of the works that need to be undertaken is in the region of £30,000. And a further recommendation for a property at 9 Raglan Court for adaptation works with a value of around £25,000. So the report is asking for members' approval to proceed with those works.
No questions or anything? These obviously all been discussed at, in detail by the Housing Management Forum that myself and Kevin are both on. So
Yeah.
They're agreed? Yeah.
Agreed.
Right. Oh, now we're on to the really exciting bit of the council's finances. Welcome, Sue. I guess you're going to enthrall us all with this.
Yes,
Super.
I will try. So the accounts for 2019-2020 have been closed and submitted for audit. The results of the audit go to the Audit and Governance Committee in November. We're on a slightly different time frame this year. The statutory deadlines all move back due to COVID things that were going on. So we're still in time, even though November sounds later than usual. In-year monitoring, so we do the quarterly monitoring, identified there was about 680,000 needed from reserves to fund the one-off expenditure within the account for 1920. But at the end of the year, there were unplanned underspends and additional income that came in to about 146,000 that together made the use of reserves 537,000. So those reserves have now been reduced by that amount, but carry on being held for the specific purposes and the liabilities that we carry as an authority. So the general fund was balanced, but with the use of reserves. Housing revenue account was balanced with a contribution into their reserve. Their reserve is separate, it's a ring-fenced account. Their reserves primarily for housing maintenance, but also any other one-off expenditure. It's completely separate to the general fund. So if there was going to be a transformation project for the housing revenue account, it would come from their own funds. Similarly, any losses incurred by the housing revenue account service would be borne from their reserves. There's also a major repairs reserve that belongs to the housing revenue account that's specifically for the capital plan maintenance programme. The whole capital programme for 1920 was fully funded, and we have capital resources carried over into this year. We have the proceeds of asset sales, capital receipts, we call those, and capital grants that we've received. So the major repairs, the grants and the receipts combined fund the capital programme for the next 3 years, the approved capital programme that we already have. For Treasury, the only change in the year was a loan matured and was repaid from the housing revenue accounts debt portfolio. There's a full report on Treasury, an annual statement that we have to provide through Executive Full Council, actually, so that will be presented at the next meeting. There's no kind of significant activity within Treasury other than the debt that we pay and the short-term investments that we make, and we do earn income from that, which supports general fund. The collection fund is another separate account. That's the billing authority account, so it's got council tax and business rates within it. The results of the collection fund are shared between the precepting authorities over a number of years, as set out in statute. So recognised in the report our share, but the other shares will be distributed to the other authorities, and either be, if it's a surplus, then it's paid out. If it's a deficit, then they pay back to us. The collection fund also includes some write-offs, which are very old, over 6 years old. Generally, the amounts that we've not been able to recover, we go through quite a number of steps in the recovery process, but after time passes by and circumstances change, we can't always collect everything, so there are some amounts written off for 1920. Looking at the medium-term impact of the close down, we always kind of reflect on what's happened in a financial year to see if there's any impacts that continue forwards. There was nothing really major coming out of 1920 that wasn't already picked up when we set the budget for this year and the medium-term plan going forwards. But what has had an impact on the medium-term plan when reviewing it are the COVID things that happened, so additional spend and income irrecoverably lost for our services, and the report includes an estimate of those impacts. That estimate is refreshed every month through work that we do in terms of monitoring, but also for the formal submissions we make to government for additional spend, emergency funding, and now there's a separate sales fees and charges funding return to do to try and recover some of that irrecoverable income that we've lost. So there will be a full revision of this year's budget and a reflection on the medium-term finances to a separate meeting. I wanted to really focus on the outturn for this meeting. There is separate to last year, if you like, a recommendation in the report asking for funding towards as a contribution between the three authorities around the Morecambe Bay area to look at devolution options, and that's 15,000, an estimated amount for some work to look at that area as part of the devolution sort of conversation that's going on. Not just about that area, it's like a national piece of work, but that would be services between the three authorities to look at what information and I don't know if it's going to go as far as modelling, but it's kind of the basis of information that's needed to look at the area and other areas that Barrow in whichever model is proposed. But we do need some basic information, and the request is to fund those external services. So there are some appendices to the report which I referred to, and these kind of break down the big figures. So it's looking at the I've split the variance, as I would call it, the 146 between services, and picked out major items. So obviously a lot more detail behind that if it's needed. A note of the reserves, and in the report I've set out what they're held for, because they are held for specific purposes, and the medium-term projection. And that's it. Thank you, Chair.
Super. Have we got any questions?
Councillor Edwards.
Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, thanks, Sue. In the recommendations, I'd just like to ask some questions about section 5, about 15,000 going to more consultancy services. I hear what you say, But I'm becoming increasingly concerned with the amounts of money that are being spent on consultants, gurus, experts, whatever you want to call them. Why are we doing this when we've got our own qualified officers we've got a bank of officers who are being paid substantial amounts of money? Do we not have the expertise ourselves?
Through you, Chair, I understand this is a time-sensitive request, and if there is to be a case made for options that may be preferred, then it needs to be done very quickly. It needs to be done between the three authorities, and there's key information that needs to be kind of gathered nationally as well in terms of comparison to kind of justify any kind of model that or option that maybe we want to look at. So it's not just looking inside at information, it's looking and comparing to see if what could be modelled is going to stand up as an option for the authority to consider. So it's not just like that. It wouldn't be me and the other CFOs that creating this. It is not just internal information, it is external information as well, and somebody who has can make that judgment, can make that comparison. So like an expert in devolution or in authority level, the tiers, the design of the tiers, that kind of thing. So it's a bit more than we could just do ourselves, but I understand it is time sensitive as a piece of work.
Thank you, but everything seems to be time sensitive at the moment, and we seem to be being pushed into spending amounts of money. I am very concerned about this. Who would we be employing? We haven't got any detail whatsoever. What would they be doing specifically? And why, when we've got our own members of staff?
Well, we do have our own members of staff. You might have missed the last 10 years, but we haven't quite got as many as we used to due to a government and some financial things that they've been doing to us. Did somebody have their hand? Lee, did you have your hand up? Or did I make that up?
No, I do, yes, but you can carry on, I'll wait.
No, just making a general point. Go on, carry on.
Right.
I think, does anybody, go on.
Yeah, please. Back at what Sue's saying, first of all, that it's not just doing a consultation or preparing a report on something that we deal with day to day. This is a different concept of devolution, and it's the strands of government that have proposed. We look at this, so it is a demand. The time sensitive stuff, that is because of the government putting these restraints on, forcing these things, whether it's the deals we're submitting for other, like Fitch High Streets, because of COVID, they didn't extend certain deadlines in all circumstances. Devolution's been brought upon us by the white paper coming. So this is imposed on us as time sensitive. So I think if you're upset at that, I think you should bend your eye at the government, to be honest, and ask for more time if you think that's more appropriate. A bank of officers, I don't know where they're all sat. Our bank of officers seem to be very busy at the moment, dealing with a national crisis or international crisis and a pandemic. We've redeployed, we've got them working from home, they've been doing business grants, they've been doing all sorts of different work, they've been flexible, resilient, they've adapted, they've had to deal with their own situations as well during the pandemic, isolating and looking after family members. So if you know this bank of officers, I've not come across yet, there must be an office somewhere that I've not ventured into in the town hall. And also, you said substantial amounts of money. I think the paid in accordance with the wage structure, and to retain high quality staff, you have to be competitive in the market. So if you've got a problem with how much we're paying our staff to do, but above and beyond during the pandemic, certainly, I think we could talk about that in another meeting. And finally, I think from the purposes of the mid-term financial plan, the COVID expenditure has to be repaid back. Not all councils, I don't think any council is confident that'll be the case. And even if there is more emergency funding coming to us to compensate us for what we spent, compensate us for the loss of income or earnings from maybe business rates and council tax in the future, we're expected to be hit when the pandemic calms down a bit and the government is trying to sort of cut certain things to recoup some of the expenditure. So I think I want to state on here, we need to be really vocal about our need to look after our residents and protect our borough, especially at the moment. You see our rates going up. We're in the news today. We're actually hitting the headlines again. So we have to make sure we're doing everything we can. And in order to do that, we have to spend money we don't have, and we haven't forecasted to spend in the financial year, in the next financial year. So we need that emergency funding to be repaid. We need to be confident it's going to be repaid, so we've got no hesitation about spending it on the things it needs to be spent on. And we need the assurance that it won't be some cuts that are just coming down the line that will hit us later on, because to build up the resilience in our communities and to help the communities recover from job losses and income losses and mental health issues and even physical issues from long-term effects of COVID, it's going to be a long haul, and we're going to have to be front and centre of doing that recovery. So we're going to have to have the resources available to do that. So I think the financial statement as it's put together, it does reflect, if you look at the attachments, how much we are spending on the COVID response, and that's not sustainable if we're not confident that we're going to get repaid for it. Thanks.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
No, there's nobody, Chair, that's requested to speak.
Do we agree the recommendations?
Could I have a mover and seconder, please?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
All agreed? Do we have to take a roll call thing?
Well, the motion has been moved by Councillor Robertson, seconded by Councillor Barlow. If there's no dissent, then I can take it via consensus. Is anybody in dissent?
Agreed.
If you mean me, I'll abstain. Okay.
I think in that case, Chair, I think we do probably need to undertake a roll call. So please could you reply with 4 against abstain? Councillor Barlow?
4.
Biggins?
4.
Blezard?
4.
Brooke?
4.
Edwards?
Abstain.
Hamilton?
4.
McClure? You're on mute, Councillor McClure.
Abstain, John.
Maddox?
4.
Morgan?
4.
Pemberton?
Abstain.
Roberts?
4.
Ronson?
Abstain.
That's carried. 8-4, 4 abstentions. Thanks, Chair.
On to another exciting item now, the Food Safety Service Plan 2020-21. Go for it, Graham.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try and make it as exciting as possible. So the Barrow Borough Council are known as the competent authority with regard to food hygiene. And the Food Law Code of Practice states that every competent authority must have an up-to-date and documented food safety service plan, which is readily available for food businesses, their operators and consumers. This plan must be subject to a regular review and clearly state the time period for which the plan is due to have effect. The plan should reflect the requirements detailed in paragraph 6 of the Regulators Code, which is ensuring that their approach to regulated activities is transparent. Members will be aware that of the increasing issues around staffing within public protection services and recruiting and retraining qualified environmental health officers has been a difficulty for the local authority for a number of years. However, I can report to members that ongoing training of a graduate and of a trainee environmental health officer, and the latter being in training for 6 years and in his final year at university from September, will give us bolster the system for the 2 vacant posts. During this time of training, we've relied on consultant support. Last year, that enabled us to generally meet the requirements of our previous food safety plan, and only to be cut short due to COVID. If we take members to the summary, we are required to document this food safety plan, and last year it was felt at management team that this plan should come to the executive. And under normal circumstances, this would have been reviewed in February and March of this year, to be considered by executive committee at the earliest opportunity within the committee cycle. The food hygiene inspection programme has recommenced on the 1st of August, and therefore it's timely that members consider the food safety plan for 2021. The plan also recognises the continued need to rely on qualified agency contractors to assist the service in delivering the official controls whilst EHO posts remain vacant. Chair, would you like me to read the recommendations, or I'm happy to take questions?
Well, you can see, members can see the recommendations. Have we got any questions?
Councillor Edwards, Chair.
Okay.
Councillor Edwards, sorry, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Graham, for a very detailed report. You know, you've covered everything and it's easy to read. Can I just ask some questions that I don't know the answers to? How are inspections prioritised? Do you just go when you have complaints, or do you have a list, or what? How many? Sorry, do you want me to tell you all the questions?
Well, I will explain that one first, because that's
right,
a quick and easy answer. So they're prioritised by risk.
Right.
Within the report, it shows a summary of what our inspections were achieved last year, which was in 2019-20. A risk is the highest risk premises. They are visited twice a year. B risk are visited once a year. C risk every 18 months, and so on until we get to E risk, which are visited every 3 years, but are subject to alternative enforcement, which means they get a physical inspection every 3 years and a questionnaire or an audit type visit that's remote on the opposite 3 years. The risk rating is carried out during the inspection. It doesn't always follow that a poor or a good, shall we say, food hygiene rating, which is the scores on the door, shall we say, the National Food Hygiene Rating. It doesn't always follow that if you've got a poor rating on the National Food Hygiene Rating system, that you'll be a high risk. High risk can also involve vulnerable people, so vulnerable settings such as care homes and the hospitals. So they're immediately at a high risk because they've got vulnerable people. So the risking is how we determine when premises are inspected in any 12 months, and that will fluctuate as of course some aren't inspected every year. So each year there's around about 250 premises to visit during the year, but that does, like I say, Councillor Edwards, that fluctuates year on year depending on which banding it falls into.
Thanks. Mr. Chairman, can I ask the other question?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Since COVID, there's lots of people selling things from their houses, baking things, etc. Are we checking these people in any way?
Well, yes, Councillor, when these come to light, and we don't patrol Facebook, but we are aware from people, from the general public generally letting us know, and elected members letting us know that you know, a business is set up operating out of the back door of a house, selling food items, and those businesses have been followed up as practically as they possibly have been able to during the lockdown. We are now back to more face-to-face work for food inspections, and those newly registered businesses are at the top of the list for inspection. So we've done quite a lot of remote working with new food businesses and with those that were already in the system during lockdown.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor.
Right, Wendy McClure. You're muted.
It's fine, thanks, Derek. Hazel asked the question I was going to ask.
Okay.
I did lower my hand.
Right. Any more? No? I did like the bit when it says on there, the competent authority. Do we have T-shirts with that on, Graham?
Oh, we have overalls with environmental health officer on. That's about the
Oh, I
best
think
we
you
can
should
do.
go for that one, the competent authority. I think it's cool.
So, Chair, would you like me to read the recommendations? Just
Oh, go on then. Go on then. You're desperate to read them out, Graham. Go for it.
Recommend to the Executive Committee to agree the food safety plan for 2020-21 and to continue to support the use of qualified agency contractors whilst EHO posts remain vacant. Thank you, Derek.
Right. We all agreed? Yeah.
Agreed.
Can you have
Agreed.
a-
We'll get
a
some
second,
T-shirts.
please?
Splendid.
Thank
Right.
you, Chair.
So you'll be hanging around for the other one report anyway, are you?
No, I think Steph's doing that.
Oh, is right. Steph doing that. Right. Okay. Thank you. See you
I'm
again.
off to exciting things. Thank you.
Cool. Right. 11, LGA peer review and improvement plan. And because I haven't got my script, I don't know who's doing that.
Chair, it's Debbie Daw.
Debbie, I don't
No,
know.
I think it's the chief executive, Sam.
Sam.
That'll be me, Chair. I'll do this one. So as all councillors are aware, we invited the Local Government Association to come in and work with us back in November to carry out a governance review, and they also came and worked with us in February to carry out a corporate peer challenge. And the report before you today sets out what we asked them to look at as part of that corporate peer challenge, and then a couple of action plans of how we're going to take the recommendations forward. So if I just quickly read the questions that the peer challenge team posed us when they came in to visit us in February, and it's probably worth bearing in mind as well that this was before lockdown and coronavirus was around, but I don't think any of us in early February realised how much impact it was going to have on our daily lives where we run our business. So the things that they were specifically looking at were understanding of local place and priority setting. So that's our understanding of local place and priority setting as a council. Our leadership of our place, organisational leadership and governance, financial planning and viability, and we also asked them specifically to look at our capacity to deliver. So whilst as head of paid service, I'm incredibly proud of the capability of our whole staff team and what they've done, especially over the last 6 months. I do think that we sometimes don't have the capacity to deliver everything that we want to deliver. We're ambitious and dedicated and committed to changing the borough, but we don't always have the capacity to do that on our own. And so we do sometimes need to bring in other people to support us when we need to. So I think the report that the LGA came back with, and members were invited to a session on this a couple of weeks back, so I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail, but the overall response from that peer challenge team was very positive. The report sets out that they feel that we are very self-aware as officers and members and partners in terms of some of the opportunities, but also some of the challenges facing our borough. And overall, they were positive in how our staff respond in a dedicated and committed way to tackling the things that we need to tackle. So I think it is a positive report, and given that it was in early February, their overall conclusion was that there was a climate of pride, optimism and positivity about the borough and about the council. And I think despite everything that we've had to tackle over the last 6 months, I still think that that is the case, and that optimism is absolutely there in some of the things that we're trying to do through our council plan and through the Growing Forward report that we brought to executive in July. And I think we're still on that path of really trying to change the borough and make it a great place to work, live and visit. So the report sets out a series of recommendations and they've been pulled together into an action plan. So the governance report back in November set out a series of recommendations, and Appendix 2 to your report shows how some of those actions have now been completed. The actions that haven't yet been completed have been pulled together with the recommendations and the actions coming out of the Corporate Peer Challenge report, and they're in Appendix 3. So that's the new action plan now that's going to really help us deliver some of those recommendations that the LGA came forward with.
Right, thanks, Sam. Has anybody got any questions? I mean, for those millions watching on YouTube, we as councillors have had an opportunity to discuss this with the LGA, and it was open to all councillors and staff. So we should have all read it and been part of it. So, but anyway, any questions from anyone? Comments?
Councillor Roberts, Chair.
Yeah, Lee.
Thank you, Chair. I might have missed if you said it, but will the full report be made public on our website or anywhere like that? And also, is there going to be a return visit at all to see how we're going by the LGA, or any support they can offer to make sure we're on the right track? And a final comment rather than a question is that, and we've said it before, but it was very very pleasing, the outcome of the two examinations of how the council have operating. It's open and honest, it was fair and transparent, and I think it did uncover some things we knew we needed to work on, and it did. It does support the things, the direction we're heading in. So I just want to put on record how proud and I am of the council staff, how they've before the COVID crisis, how they were operating, and certainly during the COVID crisis, it's just backed that up. So I think it's a very positive report with a lot to work on, and we should be proud of how we're doing and look forward to being better and stronger in the future.
Yeah, so I think, well, the report has been published as part of these papers. If it's not specifically on our website already, then I'll make sure that it is on our website. It also will go onto the Local Government Association website as well. So they publish all their corporate peer challenges that they carry out for all councils. But I will make sure it's on our website if it's not already. There is an offer of a follow-up visit within 18 months from the LGA, so they will come back in 18 months' time from February. So we're already kind of 6 months into that, for a follow-up visit to see how we've implemented their recommendations and whether we've delivered on the action plan and made the improvements.
Yeah, any more? Are we all, well, it's not asking us to do anything, is it? We're just receiving it because obviously we've had it. It's just putting it out there in the public domain. Seems like centuries ago when they came, there was, you could have meetings and see people and stuff like that, and Barrow was still in the National League. And now we're all stuck on Zoom, but Barrow are in League 2, so hey ho. Right, are we all okay with that? Yeah. Next one, another exciting item, member role profiles. I don't know who's...
That's me, Chair. Thank you. I think that follows on nicely from your previous report, because these was one of the actions arising from the governance review that was undertaken back in last November. One of the considerations was that members asked for the role of the spokesperson to be reviewed. And at the same time, we've taken the opportunity to draft some member role profiles. These profiles and the suggestions around the lead members have been before the member training working group, and they've had their input into this and have considered the draft profiles and how we take them forward. 3.2 sets out the suggestions for lead members to replace existing spokespersons. But just to add comment that the chairs of the committees will still continue to be spokespersons for the chairs for which they are responsible. The working group members also considered that members should be requested to produce an annual report to council based on the work of any outside bodies on which they're appointed, and they've drafted the attached template as attached Appendix 2 to the report. But they were also recommending to council that training for chairs should be undertaken within 6 months of becoming a chair. So the recommendations are as set out at 2 in the report, and then the recommendations to full council. So the report will be coming to full council at the end of the month.
Thanks, Debbie. Have we got any questions? Councillor Edwards?
Yeah, just a few quick ones. Obviously, as a Conservative group, it's an irrelevance to us who you have as league members. but I'm amazed that there must be so many councillors who are experts in these fields if this is what we're doing. It does tend to put undue pressure on many who don't feel that they're experts, and I include myself in that, especially when councillors are being paid the equivalent of about £6 a day, contrary to public perception. County councillors are completely different. Completing the forms, etc., I would agree with, although I wouldn't agree with what's written on them particularly. But you're almost trying to turn this councillor job into a full-time job for £6 a day. The other one that I would like to comment on is on page 85. We have a mayor of this council. We don't have a chairman. The chairman are committee chairman. I would like to see that removed, chair, mayor. He isn't a chairman of the council. He's the mayor. Page 85 at the top, chair, mayor of the council, role profile. I think it should just be mayor of the council.
I can't see the bit actually where you're on about, but the mayor does chair the council meetings.
Yeah, but he's not the chair, is the mayor. The chairmen are the chairman of the committees. We're downgrading the position. It's on page 85. I've got the paperwork here. Agenda item 12, appendix 1, page 85.
What number is it? Because I can't see the bit that I've got page 85 up on my computer. I can't see.
There isn't a number. It just says chair, mayor of the council role profile.
Yeah, it's the heading under for the chair, mayor of the council role profile. So it's one of the top of the headings on one of the role profiles. So as councillor.
Right. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Right. Okay.
So there's separate role profiles for the chairs of committees, and I think the point Councillor Edwards is making is that for our council, the mayor is the chair of the council.
Yeah.
Chair / mayor of council. Oh, found it.
It's only a small point, but I think it's an important one.
I don't know. Any comments, anyone? I mean, as far as I can see, this is with regard to their role chairing the council meetings, not
okay.
the other stuff.
We can agree to disagree. I just think it's downgrading, bearing in mind the opinions of some people about mayoralities.
I don't know, amounts to the same thing to me, but go on. Councillor Maddox and, whoops, hang on, I don't know what order people here, sorry. Councillor Maddox, go on, and then I've got Councillor Hamilton and Councillor Robert, oh God, right, go on. Wendy.
When I was mayor, I never looked at myself as chair of the council. You're representing the town as mayor. And I can't really see what difference it makes being written here. You know yourself when you're mayor that you're mayor for 12 months, but you're not chair of the council. I can't understand what the problem is, really. It's written down there as chair, mayor of the council. Yes, you're mayor, you're chairing the council meetings, so I can't see the problem.
Right, Kevin, I think.
Thanks, I don't know where this is coming from, because being the first citizen, the alternative is then, if the mayor is not the chairman, would you have to nominate and elect a chairman to chair meetings 4 times a year? Or who does the chairing then? Honestly, I'm not belittling or whatever. The pride that you have with being a mayor and chairing the meetings and whatever, absolutely brilliant. But I just don't know where it's coming from, because I just can't understand why you need a separate chairman to chair the meeting. Thanks anyway.
Sorry, you haven't got a separate chair. The mayor's the chair. That's one
No,
of
but
the
this is
roles
what
of
they're
the mayor.
advocating. This is what Hazel's advocating. We need a we would need a separate chair. You'd have the mayor sat down, and you need somebody to chair the meeting, wouldn't you?
No, could I say, Mr. Chairman? And no, absolutely not. The mayor does chair the meeting, hence why I want the word chair removing, because the mayor is the chairman. Some councils only have a chairman, they don't have a mayor.
If it helps, I can just take out in the heading, just leave it as mayor of the council role profile. It still references the chair within the role profile as chairing the full council. Yeah.
Are we okay with that? Maybe change the words to hang on, I've still got Lee. Lee and Sean, I think. It's much easier chairing these with real people around a table. So Lee, I think. Lee, yeah.
We are still real people. These aren't just sort of, thank you. I'll come to the mayor bit in a minute, but the initial bit that Councillor Edwards said was about the lead members, how they think I think it's come across that she doesn't think councillors or members are equipped or knowledgeable enough to do the role, or suitably paid enough to do the role. Whereas my view is this is just an evolution of being a spokesperson role. So in my mind, it actually makes it easier to be a spokesperson if you're more involved in the policy making and the discussions with officers on that subject. So you'll always need a spokesperson, or we've always had spokespeople, but sometimes they're just trusting when a media request comes in and you've got to talk about something you've not been heavily involved in, and it's voluntary. We're not making anyone do it. And you don't have to be an expert. What you have to do is be the elected member representing the residents for that particular subject. So you have to have an interest maybe and a passion for it. So I think certainly for my group, we won't struggle to find people because they are passionate and interested in the subjects like climate change and like young people and families and economic development. We have got people who are interested enough to do that. And you don't have to know everything, and to be honest, it's better not to, because then you actually talk to officers, you talk to the public, and you talk to the appropriate sort of third parties involved in that. And to do a report back to council means we're getting feedback from members, and we're getting a member engagement with officers, which probably doesn't happen as much as it should. So that's my view on that. And regarding mayor and chairman, if you just had it as mayor, in my mind, some people perceive that as someone who just goes around cutting ribbons and puts on heavy chains and silly hats. Well, to be chairman of the council, I think it's actually, for me, it sort of embellishes that role. It means it's not just about ceremony and any pomp or tradition. It's actually running a council meeting. It's making sure the business is conducted in an appropriate manner. So I think it's important to have that distinction, that the mayor is actually chair of the council during their term. And I think it's an honour to be that as well. So I think that should remain personally. But again, that's just my personal view.
Sean?
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up on that thing about members needing to be experts. I don't know where that came from, because we vote in MPs every 4 or 5 years. We don't expect them to know everything. They learn as they go. So I just don't understand that. It's just picking at things, really. I think from Hazel, to be honest, people will go forward with these positions if they want to. I'll be going for a position mainly because I've got 30 years experience in that field, and I work as a professional in that field, so I'll be bringing that knowledge to the position if I get elected. And I think that's the same across the board, and it's something the officers have been asking for a long time, which is more communication with members because we have a lot of meetings around planning and things like that, but some of things like arts and culture don't actually have regular meetings to keep in the loop. So it's a very positive thing going forward, and I'll be putting in for it. I know I won't be getting any extra pay for it, and I do it because I love my borough and I want to do best for my residents, and it's not all about money. And I just find that a really horrible way to look at it, where we are volunteers at the end of the day, and I think that should be appreciated, that we do it because we love our communities. And I just don't understand Councillor Edwards' point at all on that, because I am very proud to have stood and be elected by my residents, and I am very proud to represent them in everything I do. And yeah, I just really wound me up, that, to be honest, because I think Councillor Edwards needs to start actually being a bit more positive about, especially about officers and the role they play. And the thing about money, it was just sickening, to be honest. The amount of hard work that our officers have put in over the last few months should be applauded by every single member of this community. And I just find it abhorrent that you start digging at them just to have a go at the other party. And I think that should stop. We should be a lot more grown up about it, to be honest. And I'm sorry for getting all wound up.
We got any more comments?
Councillor Edwards, Chair.
Yeah, I think I have permission really to come back on that, because Sean, party political broadcast, you have got completely the wrong end of the stick. I've done 30 years on Barrow Council, and to be perfectly honest, we did it for nothing initially, and we only got paid for meetings that we attended. What would happen now if that happened? Because we have so many members that don't attend but still get paid. I do not think that anybody should get any more money for doing anything, but I would expect people who are spokespeople, etc., to have some training and some knowledge. If you've got knowledge on one area, fair enough, but I'm surprised that there are so many people that have knowledge in all these areas. That's what I was saying, not a party political broadcast.
Well, I didn't foresee all this discussion going on about this item, but there you go. My Conservative colleagues don't seem to mind electing a Prime Minister who hasn't got any particular knowledge, so I suppose it's just a way of dealing with, different way of dealing with things. Can we, subject to amending the wording about the mayor bit, can
Chair,
we agree all this?
Well, Chair.
Have we got a hand up somewhere? Sorry.
No, Chair. Obviously, Debbie Stoll said that we can amend it. The recommendations are before you. You've got a member who suggested changing the wording, but then you've got Councillor Roberts who said he's agreeable to that wording. So you've got people that don't agree. So I think you either move the recommendations, or we need a mover and seconder of the please.
Okay, I mean, it's a, okay.
I'll move it.
I'll second it in that it goes through as it stands,
Yes.
with the chair in place.
Yes.
The motion has been moved by Councillor Maddox and seconded by Councillor Blezard. Please reply with for, against, or abstain. Councillor Barlow. For. Biggins. For. Blezard.
For.
Brooke.
For.
Edwards. Councillor Edwards.
Unmute.
We only have an objection to that one thing, and it's only a small thing, so the rest of it is for.
Hamilton.
For.
McClure.
For.
Maddox.
For.
Morgan.
For.
Pemberton. Councillor Pemberton,
Or
Roberts,
Or
Ronson.
Or.
Thank you. That's carried, Chair.
Amended Code of Conduct for members, 13. That you
It's
again,
me
Debbie?
again, yes, Chair, thank you very much. This arose out of a debate at the Audit Committee when they considered the draft model code of conduct that was produced by the Local Government Association. As part of the discussions, whilst they noted the Local Government Association model code, they requested an earlier review for the Barrow Code with regards to the specific provisions around bullying and harassment, and consequently the existing code has been revised. The main changes are highlighted in red on the appendices to the report, and it will be going through to full council again at the end of the month. So members are asked to consider whether or not they wish to recommend the adoption of the amended code, and that's subject to those amendments being confirmed that they are made available to all town and parish councils. And of course, training would follow on from that if the new revisions were made. Just a comment, I did circulate the draft to all members of the council. I also sent a copy to the council's independent person for standards, and any comments are being noted, but it's not brought forward any additional changes to the papers that are before you.
So this has been out to everyone. Any questions?
Councillor Edwards, Chair.
Just a quick one on this. I've no objections to this at all, but there's no mention of any consequences. You know, I agree with all the rules, but there's no mention of any consequences.
I fully accept that, Councillor Edwards, and that's the work that's coming out of Standards for Public Life Committee. They've made a huge chunk of recommendations with regards to any sanctions that may follow breaches of the Code of Conduct. The consequences, other than the existing sanctions, are subject to statutory legislation, and we will be bringing forward to the Audit and Governance Committee further report in terms of best practice, but also a review of the council's standards arrangements. So that work is ongoing. So this is a piece of the jigsaw, and there'll be some additional guidance coming forward as well, which will go back through the Audit and Governance Committee.
So, okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can we agree the report? Yeah. Yes. Wow. Low carbon, I think. Yes.
So this,
right. Go for it.
Yeah, okay. So this report sets out two major programmes for Barrow around climate change. So they're really positive, good news for us. The first one is Low Carbon Barrow, and that's a partnership between us and ArtGene. And as a council, we're going to be the accountable body for this one. The exec committee has already given the go-ahead for us to get on with the formal funding agreements, which we are doing. But at this moment in time, we've got in principle support to these programmes. So if I just run through the detail of what's contained within it, the purpose of bringing it to you today is, one, so you know where we've got to with it, but two, we need approval to enable us to crack on and start delivering, really. So the first bit about the programme, we've got £2 million in principle from the Local Enterprise Partnership and European funding. There's a few elements to it. One around improving some of our public housing stock to make it more energy efficient. We've got some money in for electric vehicle charging stations in our car parks and some electric leasing vehicles for council staff. We've got some money for some energy efficiency projects to council buildings, and we're doing some exemplar projects and grant programmes with ArtGene. And one of the more, probably the most exciting, is a carbon neutral Peel Island, and that's something that could be an amazing opportunity for us in Barrow. And ArtGene are also going to do some low carbon demonstration projects. So that's low carbon Barrow. And the other one was just to let you know that Cumbria, through the Zero Carbon Cumbria Partnership, has secured £2.5 million from the lottery. And the report's quite detailed about the overall bid, but there's quite a few bits that may have specific opportunities for Barrow within it. One of which is the establishment of a citizens' jury, which is about bringing together local people to give their views about climate change, which we could use as a sounding board as the council. ArtGene are going to get a part-time community engagement post to go out and do work in the community and set up a repairs cafe, which has been tried in other areas of Cumbria, where you can bring things that don't work anymore and get them repaired or recycled. And there's going to be some events and training programs, and the opportunity for 2 community organisations in Barrow to potentially explore different ways of community energy. So I think that's about it.
Right, has anybody got any questions?
Councillor Blessard, Chair.
John?
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's more of a comment than a question. I've been at some of the meetings with the partners involved and the council. I think it's an absolutely amazing piece of work. So well done to the officers for putting that together and everyone else that's been involved. I think it's something that's kind of needed and getting more and more needed as we go forward. I think we can all agree that. So I think it's just fantastic to see our council leading the way on stuff. So I think we should be very proud of that. So I, for one, am so excited about this going forward. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Any more? Oh, Lee. Lee?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I was going to say similar to Sean about being part of the council's climate emergency working group. How the enthusiasm and passion for on the side of officers for that, they really do care, and it is obviously an important cause anyway. But it's not just about. I can feel it's not just about doing your job. In a lot of aspects for the council and council officers, it's more than that. But certainly with climate change and climate emergency and what we can do here, it is really evident when you go to the meetings how much they care about it and how much they want to make a change in that area. It's a phenomenal opportunity, these 2 successful bids, and some of the, I think the exciting ones are the higher profile ones, like the Peel, carbon neutral Peel. It'd be something that we could use to engage with people, engage with media, and make it a real solid high level campaign. Personally, I'm quite pleased that things like a housing renewal was in there, because along with the Citizens Assembly, which hopefully we will able to engage with people who wouldn't normally get a voice on these matters, ones that normally can't afford to implement some energy saving sort of aspects of the housing. Your solar panels you've got to buy, you've got to spend money, sometimes you don't find it accessible. So by helping smaller businesses and helping residents, and particularly ones in deprived areas, make a change to their lifestyle or their housing or the choices they make, well, that's how you make a difference in the community. So it's making it accessible to everybody. So sometimes I think on these sort of projects, it's the little things that will actually make the biggest impact. And we've got to get their balance out, bringing people along with us on this. As a leader of place, this is us again. We're going to have to lead on this. We're going to have to make sure the big businesses do their bit and they buy into it, because obviously it affects all our lives. And as a coastal community and as a coastal place, we're going to see the impact of climate change probably quicker and more devastating than anyone else. So It is really exciting we've got this, and hopefully this is the start of a few bids that are successful and we can start making major changes to our borough. And anyone that's been involved in putting these bids together, thank you and congratulations, because obviously you do a phenomenal job.
Kevin, you trying to, yeah?
Just a quick one, Chair. Echo what everybody else has said. Absolutely brilliant. I don't know if you realise, but the Barrow Local Committee be coming to a small amount. What we've agreed is to put a bike repair shop, if you will, which consists of an air pump, a chain with all the tools on for repairing push bikes and whatever. And we're going to put one in each ward as a roll. Then hopefully we can follow it through to keep people on the push bikes and whatever. So working hand in hand. So well done.
Is that it? No Trump people who want to tell us that science don't work? No?
Chair, for this item, I do need a mover and seconder, please.
Okay.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Councillor Roberts. Thank you. So the motion has been moved by Councillor Blessard and seconded by Councillor Roberts. Please reply with for, against or abstain. Councillor Barlow? For. Biggins? For. Blessard?
For.
Hook?
For.
Edwards?
For.
Hamilton?
For.
McClure?
For.
Maddox?
For.
Morgan?
For.
Pemberton?
For.
Roberts?
For.
Ronson?
For.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Right. So we are, we're going to go into part two. So to all the many of you watching on YouTube, thank you for watching that. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to go off now and discuss some strategic acquisitions from the Accelerated Towns Fund. And we'll be back with you, I don't know, in a few weeks, and come and see us all at council in a couple of weeks as well. I'm sure you've all enjoyed it. So we're going into part two now, are we?
Can we have a formal motion and seconded to do so, please?
Oh.
I propose we do.
I'll second.
Agreed, everyone, yeah?
Agreed.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, we're off into part two. Goodbye.
So, first of all,